Hi guys, I am Gracie and this is Scott from Small Worlds Big Adventures, and today we're going to be talking about online miniature creator websites. You want to explain to us what those are?
Sure. Basically, specifically for Dungeons and Dragons, but really for pretty much a wide range now of tabletop role-playing games and even tabletop war games. They will allow you to create and then make a miniature for your character or for your army, depending on what you need.
Yeah. A lot of these sites use like pre-created, what they call assets, so then you can just kind of like plug and play things. So you're not actually crafting it from the very bottom.
You'll pick out a human male. You'll choose a hairstyle for them. You'll choose a sword from a number of swords to have in his hand, and then you'll choose to pose him, and then you'll pay them money to send you a model, or if you have access to a 3D printer, you can get a STL to print them out yourself.
Yep. And most of our video is going to be aimed towards people who have 3D printers or access to 3D printers. But we do also want to highlight, like, if you just want to make one and have it shipped to you, what that looks like too.
Right.
For this video, we examined 3 different websites. Yep. HeroForge, Eldritch Foundry, and Titancraft.
Those are the ones that come up as far as websites. There's 1 or 2, you'd really call them more programs or apps that you can get off of Steam that we really didn't look into because they were a little pricey and didn't look very high quality, in my opinion. Right now, just kind of at a general look, these kind of seem to be the 3 big ones.
But also these seem to be the most popular. HeroForge, arguably the most famous of them.
As far as I know, it's the oldest.
Yeah. And to kick it off, we want to talk a little bit about pricing. As with all things, you can give them money lots of ways. For those of you who may be looking to use these sites to just create 1 or 2 miniatures, have them print them for you and send them to you. For HeroForge, that is going to be about $20. It can go up much higher.
It's going to start at $20.
It's going to start, yep. They even offer you a polished bronze or brass model for $130-ish.
Yep.
But for the just basic unpainted miniature, you're looking at about $20.
Yeah. And years ago now, when we started using these sites, that's what we used. Yep. And honestly, the quality you're getting for that price seemed pretty good.
Very good. One of the unique things about HeroForge is you can get yours printed, painted. I don't know what magic that is, but it does come. It has different colored hair and skin and all the details you put into it. Those come at more like $40 to $50 on up.
About 40. But again, if you're just a player in a campaign and you plan on this being your main character for a couple years, that price is still pretty good price. And we've had friends use this and have it printed out, and they come out great.
Oh yeah, really impressive.
Yeah.
And you were talking about, like, with the tabletop war thing, like if you were to buy painted miniatures.
Not if you were to buy painted miniatures. If you were just to buy some miniatures from certain companies now, $40 for an individual model is not unheard of.
Yeah. So that, and then a painted one on top of that. Yeah. So at Eldritch Foundry, if you're going to buy a printed miniature to you, again, this would just be an unpainted miniature you would paint yourself or just let it live in its forever blue-gray state. Yeah. You're looking at $25-ish. They do go up to like $55-ish for like XL type of
a monster or a large figure for some reason.
Yeah. And then Titancraft, if you're getting one printed, it is $15 plus. We'll get into why the plus happens.
Well, they go 15, 25, 35, 45, 55, depending on size.
Yep.
We'll get into the assets for that, but I don't think the asset thing counts if you're getting it printed.
I think it's only, good to know.
I think it's only the STLs.
Gotcha. All right. Now the rest of this is going to be really focused on STL prices, and so each one, if you're just buying one STL for you to print at home, HeroForge is $8, Eldritch Foundry is $5, and you can, from Titancraft, get an STL figure for $0.
In theory.
In theory, yeah. You're not going to have a lot of choices with that.
No.
But, if you're looking to play around, that's an option.
Yeah.
Now, each of those sites has a way to get multiple STLs in different ways.
They all have subscriptions, essentially.
Yeah. So HeroForge's subscription cost, and this is the per month. If you were to buy 6 months at a time or pay a year in advance, it's cheaper.
They all get cheaper.
But this is just like, I'm going to buy 1 month. It is $20. Mm-hmm. For that, you get 5 STLs.
So you get 5 credits.
Yeah.
Which one STL is a credit. So in that month, you can download 5 STLs free off of your $25 or your $20 subscription. They all kind of claim they have extra added like options for poses and stuff like that, and it's hard for me to say
yes or no.
Off the base thing, but that's what you get. Those credits do stack, so if you don't use it in the month of August, then those 5 carry over to your next month, or you just keep them.
Audible style.
If you I think if you quit the subscription, I think you still have those credits on your account. So.
Yeah. I do want to highlight, like, if you aren't in for STLs and you just need like tokens, they do have a $4 a month monthly subscription.
Oh, is that for the tokens?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think for the 20, one of the benefits is you get unlimited tokens.
Yeah.
A token, if you're not aware, basically allows you to create a picture of the model you make. Usually it'll be a portrait, but it could be the whole figure that you would then use on a virtual tabletop of some sort as your character model as a token instead of instead of a model.
Yeah. So that is HeroForge's. Eldritch Foundries is $15 a month, and you get unlimited STLs.
Yep.
Titancraft doesn't have a per month subscription. What they actually do is they allow you to buy their assets, and then you just have them.
Yeah. So
forevermore.
They have asset packs on top of the handful of free assets that they get. And a good example for the starter one is I believe the Adventurers pack or something like that, which is $35, which is the most expensive. It comes with, I think it's 160 plus items, so swords and shirts and pants and shields and a whole bunch of stuff. The asset packs get as low as 15, and I think one might even be 12. They generally stay between 20 and 30, depending on how many items are in the pack. They also regularly do Kickstarters when they do new packs, so you can get the packs for cheap, for quite a bit cheaper off of Kickstarter, and then add that to your account.
Yep. And then beyond that, they also have a merchant level.
Well, which I don't know if we mentioned. Once you bought the asset pack, then you have those, and you can create as many STLs as you want off that for free.
Yep. And you download, but they offer a merchant pack.
Yeah.
So if you create STLs, you can print them.
If you want to print and sell the models that you make off of there, they give you license to do that, and that gives you access to all of their packs while you are subscribed to that.
Yep.
If you want to do it for a year, it ends up being $360. It's a little more expensive if you do it just 6 months or 3 months at a time, and those I think are the 3 options they give you.
But something to keep in mind if you're really passionate about that. You cannot sell their STLs, just the physical.
Can't sell the STLs, just if you print out and sell the actual individual models. It's kind of a neat thing. To add one more thing in here, which I didn't know about until me and Des were talking and kind of looking at the sites. As far as I know, the other 2 sites don't offer this at all. HeroForge also has the ability to download, instead of an STL, it's essentially a 3D model of the character you made. So if you play, for instance, D&D in Tabletop Simulator or another game where you can use the models, it's supposed to allow you to use the model that you print off of there. Because an STL doesn't translate to those programs. You can convert them, but it's
a pain.
It's a pain. But HeroForge allows you to do that, and they're already basically set up to work with. They list 3 specifically that they work with: Tabletop Simulator, and I forget the other 2 because I don't use those. Those also, if you have the subscription, cost 1 credit to download those. But it is a very interesting offer. I thought that was really neat and worth at least mentioning, because
Oh, for
that's
sure.
something that you don't see in the as far as I can tell, anyways. The other two don't offer.
Now we're gonna compare them as far as like how easy they are to use and other factors. But kicking off with ease of use, I think the easiest one to use is HeroForge. There may be a bias here because I have already used it for going on 10 years because it's the longest existing one. But just for like what feels like user friendliness, most of their stuff seems easy to find and navigate and whatnot. Having said that, Eldritch Foundry and Titancraft aren't so dissimilar in how you build things that like it's a drastic difference.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I recently went through all three of them, and I ought to have maybe a more of a nuanced view of this. But honestly, I think ultimately my opinion is all three of them really could use another pass on how you utilize their sites, just kind of in general. They're not good sites. They're not good websites. That could, in my opinion, be better. Titan or HeroForge probably is a little bit easier to utilize the crafting system for that. The other two aren't far behind, in my opinion, though. So.
Yeah. And to highlight in our research for this, we didn't just hang out on the websites. We created, I think it's 9 different types of characters, starting from like really basic ones like a human fighter, going to very difficult ones like a war machine that has a gun arm, or a noir skeleton detective.
We tried to, we tried to go from kind of some simple characters to something more complex without even really looking into what
they had to offer.
Do, to try and push at the edges of what they could do. And honestly, it did. I don't know if you'll see that just because I'm sure you'll run kind of like a slideshow or something of what we did. But like one of them was, can you make an elf child? And
children are so hard.
You kind of can, but there's not like an age slider or anything. So you're basically just making a miniature elf, which then kind of just looks like a halfling. One of them was an alien with tentacles. Yeah. And that was definitely pushing the boundaries.
Oh my God. Tentacles are very, like, all of the programs at most they wanted you to have, it felt like were like 2 tentacles. It's like, no, I want a tentacled monster. Let me put tentacles everywhere.
I think for that one, Eldritch Foundry had basically no options. Yep. HeroForge, I think, would allow you to have 2 tentacles.
And then you could kind of make your arms.
Titancraft, you could have, I think, 4 and a tail tentacle. And was much better at posing them than
so much better.
The other one. We did a skeleton noir detective, and it was, can he have a cigar?
Yeah.
And
cigar is not a common thing.
Titancraft doesn't have it at all.
Yeah.
I think Eldritch Foundry you could have one in your hand. Yep. I don't think any of them could have him smoking.
Yep.
So that one was kind of tricky. There was another one in there that the items. We wanted to see, hey, do they have items? And one of them was an Arakakra, a bird person who had just a regular gardener's hoe. And I think,
no hose. I think 0 hose.
So that's not true. One of them has a hoe.
Where's the hoe?
Titancraft has a hoe.
Oh, I didn't see the hoe.
Yep. It's hard to find, but I'm pretty sure it was Titancraft has one.
Yeah. Because I remember going, because I have a farmer character, and I was like, yeah, hoe makes sense. I'll have a hoe.
Sure.
Yeah, and
it was easy to find. Pitchfork. All of them had pitchforks.
One of mine has a giant's fork, not a pitchfork.
Yeah, I think that's Eldritch Foundry. I think doesn't have just a straight farmer's pitchfork. Yeah. So we tried to like push the boundaries to see what they are, and I don't know. We'll show at least the pictures of kind of what we went with, maybe the list of what the things are to kind of show you what we could find in the 3.
But as you can see, while HeroForge was the easiest, depending on how specific your character is, each of them had their pitfalls.
Well, we're talking about ease of use. We might as well talk about, because we just went through it to check and make sure both the wheelchairs and amputee options. So
accessibility is really important to us, as representation on the tables and whatnot. And a few years ago came a hot button topic of like, you can't get differently abled figures.
Yeah.
So we did go through and check and see what they had. Thankfully, each of these did have both amputee options and wheelchair options. Some of them had different like types of ways to accommodate your amputee. I want to say it was HeroForge actually had like the little hook leg you can get for running.
Yeah, well, yeah, I forget which one. One of them actually did have stuff like that. Somebody had a hook hand if you wanted to.
Yep.
If that's a thing.
If you want to lean piratey.
Yeah.
So that's really good to see. None of them felt natural and where you could find those.
Yeah, the actual site navigation was hard to find. For the most part, the like wheelchair options for some of them. One of them had them listed under mounts, and one of them
which makes sense,
was just poses. And, so not again. It just the sites I think could use a final pass of how easy is it to use our site for really I think all three of them.
But it's good to see that those options.
Oh yeah. And on top of that, like there are also all three sites really have this to some degree, but there's a bunch of body sliders. You can you can change how your body
all different
looks.
shaped.
Yeah, so that's also great.
Yeah,
and deserves a mention.
They don't always look right when you slide them to their extremes.
Well, that's
but
true.
They have them.
They're there though. Sometimes you need to fiddle with it a bit.
Yeah, if you're going for a odd proportion, let's say really short, really wide, round thing, your figure might look a little wonky. Yeah. But the quality of assets, and when we're talking about this, is just like how detailed are these assets, and honestly, like I was impressed across the board, but like I approached it like this assignment, if you will, from a fairly non-picky person. Like if it kind of got close, I was like, yeah, that's fine.
That's fair. You'll see a little bit of this in when you see the slideshow portion. No doubt in my mind, there is a hierarchy of HeroForge has the best assets. Yes. Eldritch Foundries is probably second, and Titancraft is probably third. On a lot of Titancrafts, especially the clothing, there's a noticeable loss of resolution when you go from the item to putting it on. Like the character, it's talking with Des, he thinks it's basically just a memory saving thing because you basically lose poly count is what he was thinking was kind of the issue. So they're lower resolution than the others. Clothing was really the only spot where it really seemed noticeable. The facial structures on all three are pretty good.
Yeah.
The items tended to be pretty good across the board. It was really just clothes that was kind of, in my opinion, noticeably worse across all three.
I will say, Eldritch Foundry real perturbed me with their face options and navigating that.
Yeah.
I tried really hard to make my human man look very different than just like what they gave me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to veer very far from that.
Not a lot of options.
Yeah.
In there.
How big of a library they have. So how many assets do they have?
So I couldn't tell you how many.
For sure.
And their website probably doesn't, partly because all three sites are pretty consistently adding stuff. But certainly, in my opinion, after like doing the project, HeroForge has the most.
Yeah.
My guess would be Eldritch Foundry probably edges out Titancraft just a little bit right now, but I think that's more because they've been out. I think it's straight up a thing of how long they've been out. Titancraft, I think, is the newest of the three sites, and they're pushing pretty heavy to get stuff out. So they may be comparable, and very soon, or maybe now, they might actually have more assets than Eldritch Foundry. I don't think that would be the case versus Titancraft. Or I'm sorry, Titancraft is pushing to get sets out. I don't think they have as many as HeroForge.
Yeah. I will say, like, regardless of not knowing actual numbers, all of them felt like they had a lot of options. Maybe not the option you wanted, but there weren't like three things and you're going, why don't I have more options?
If what you're looking to make, especially as a fantasy character, you have a lot.
Yeah.
If you're looking for more of a modern or futuristic, then it's
more
limited. If you're specifically, if you're looking at modern or futuristic, I think Eldritch Foundry probably has the least options there. Titancraft has a couple of sets for that, and Eldritch Foundry, and then HeroForge has quite a bit.
Yeah,
actually a pretty impressive amount of stuff there.
Yeah, And in general, this field tends to go towards fantasy.
Yeah.
So like the steampunk or the sci-fi and all those, the modern, do get overlooked a lot.
Yeah, I think that's and certainly they know what's getting bought and used, so they know where to put their investment in too. So
for sure. Which of these do you think was the most posable?
So I think Titancraft was the most posable. All three have a decent kind of basic set of poses for your guy, and then they can usually allow you to move your arms and stuff a little bit. HeroForge has a good advanced system that lets you kind of go in even more and move the pose. But I do think Titancraft's is kind of even a little bit beyond that. You can move pretty much every bone in the thing's body if there's room to move it. A good example for our thing was the tentacles. Mm-hmm. You could basically go right down the line, whereas with the HeroForge stuff, you kind of could just move it into a different spot.
Yeah.
Another good example, which kind of goes along with that, is Titancraft was the only one where you can, for instance, a gun you can take and move pretty much anywhere on the object. So one of our things was a robot with a cannon arm. Yep. And you can literally move the cannon over his arm, so that's what he's got. Whereas the other ones didn't have an option that would allow you to do that.
Yeah. As someone who is just generally using them as like an easy, fun little tryst, not all that invested, HeroForge and Titancraft definitely were the easiest for that. I remember getting frustrated a little bit with, I think it was specifically trying to make a cigar on the Noir guy look like he's smoking it.
I think you did a better job than I did.
But it was very frustrating.
Yeah.
So I would say definitely those two seemed easier for me.
Especially if you're not interested in quite the advanced stuff, HeroForge probably wins out, mainly because I think they edge. Eldritch Foundry didn't have a ton of options that are just a set. Here's your pose. I think HeroForge edges out Titancraft in here's a pose for the guy that you don't have to mess with. Especially when it came to, and Des had pointed this out to me. I said, I think Titancraft has the most like hand options. Like if you have nothing in your hand, they don't. HeroForge has probably double the amount of hand gesture options that the other one. So if you're not interested in doing like a more advanced thing, HeroForge is probably the way to go with that. Sure. One notable mention, if we're talking about poses, all three of them have mounts.
Yes.
I think we looked up.
Yep, they all have mounts.
Put your guy on. Eldritch Foundry, I think, is the only one that has, they call it heroic poses, but it's like, oh, my guy is kind of hanging off the side of a wall, or I'm standing on a dragon's skull or something like that.
The drama.
Yeah, a very dramatic scene. And they're the only one really that kind of has that. HeroForge has three options so that your base is standing on like rocks a little bit, but it's compared to the Eldritch Foundry one is really basic.
I think it was Titancraft. No, it had to have been the Eldritch Foundry, where it was the 4 stupid mounts, and then it was the heroic mounts.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Limited mounts. I hated.
Yeah, their mounts. They didn't have a lot of mounts.
And the ones they had, like they had a giant worm.
Like Dune. You want to be Dune?
No. Who wants to ride that? They had a horse, which is good, but this kind of leads us into our final thoughts of like what you should go with, which is not black or white. I would say if you're a newbie, you're just a player, and your intent is to make 1 or 2 models and have a pretty easy time about it, HeroForge. It's the dip your toes into the water one. Yeah,
I agree. I really like this because the 3 sites are different.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think they're all in their own way good.
Oh, for sure.
Which I really like. I don't. It's not that I don't have anything negative to say about any of them, but like depending on the circumstance, I can recommend all 3 of them. If the circumstance is I'm just a player, then honestly, the only one I really can recommend is HeroForge.
Yeah.
Unless you're looking for a very specific either look, like I need a duck head, or an item that the other, like HeroForge doesn't have.
Titancraft doesn't have duck heads, though, just to be clear.
Didn't it?
No. Chicken.
Okay.
wanna be a
then,
chicken.
then you won't see a duck head anywhere, I guess. Then HeroForge is the way to go if you're a player.
Yeah.
Their stuff is a little more expensive.
Little bit.
But I think along with that, the quality is there. That's what, and the options are there. That's what I would recommend too.
You can easily make the very real character in your head come out into this figure pretty simply and be very happy with it.
Yeah.
I've never really had anyone get a HeroForge figure and then complain about it.
We've literally had almost the opposite because we have a 3D printer, of course, which is one of the reasons why we do this and are interested in stuff. And we've told players, like, we've had the Eldritch Foundry subscription for a little while, and we said, hey, go ahead and make your guys on Eldritch Foundry if you want, and we'll print them out for you for free. And I think everybody went to HeroForge because what they wanted to do, they couldn't really do on Eldritch Foundry for their characters. So yeah, if you're a player, and especially, again, I don't know, it is expensive because it's $40
for sure.
But if you're not interested in painting, the colored option off of HeroForge for $40
literally seems like magic. I don't know.
It is really impressive. It is impressive even for $40 is probably well worth the price if you plan on running a campaign long enough.
Now, if you're a DM,
which I'm a gamekeeper.
Yeah, that is you. You're probably looking at creating a bunch of models.
I probably am.
And a lot of terrors to terrorize the people in your game, or just also townsfolk.
We got a different video for terrors in your game. That's a slightly different discussion. If you're a gamekeeper, if you're a dungeon master, if you're a GM, you're looking at this differently. Again, it kind of depends on what you're looking for. HeroForge is probably not the one you want to go with.
No.
It's on the more expensive side. You only get, if you do the subscription, it's only $5 per month.
Which is barely an encounter.
Which is $4. Is that $20 a month?
Yeah, $20 a month, so $4 a figure.
$4 a figure.
Yep. Not counting your resin.
And that's not kind of just the STL. It's not counting the resin or anything. So I just, unless you're looking for, again, if you're looking for something specific, you got to go with which one has that specific thing.
Exactly.
But I would not recommend that. Eldritch Foundry, $15 for 1 month. Unlimited downloads. That's great. It's especially great if you're like top loading a campaign that you're just starting and know what most of the NPCs are going to be. You can mock them up over a couple of days, download all of that stuff, and then print them out, and then be done with that subscription the next month or whatever.
We haven't done that, but our campaign with the Groundhog Day, where it's the exact same figures.
I need to get in and do all those. I think that's a great option for that. Especially if you're maybe a newer GM and have access to a printer, that's probably really good. If you think you're going to be a forever GM for the next 5, maybe 10 years, I do think Titancraft edges out Eldritch Foundry in that once you've bought a pack, you've got it for the life of the site. Now, who knows, maybe the site goes bankrupt in 2 years and then you've kind of lost that, and that would be unfortunate. But like, assuming they stick around, and they seem to be doing, they're popular enough that we've seen them run multiple Kickstarters and stuff. Once you bought those packs, you have them. And you can just go back to those and print them out whenever you need to.
Well, and I will say, like, I am somebody who would much rather just have something than subscribe to something.
But
and so, like, just that whole concept in general is really appealing.
Well, because in theory, you could go, here's $15. I download the stuff at the beginning of my campaign from Eldritch Foundry. And then 6 months down the line, it's like, well, I need a new set of bad guys for these couple. I'd do another month. And as long as you just do it 1 month, twice a year, that's probably well worth, like, it probably saves you a lot of money. But as soon as you go, I've done this for 1 month and I forgot to cancel my subscription next month, now you're at $30. And then you're at $45.
Who forgets to cancel a subscription?
And
nobody.
At that point, that's 2 or 3 of the asset packs from Titancraft. So it's good if you're only doing it once, maybe twice a year. Cost-wise, it maybe arguably is the better value for you. But and I agree with you. I'd rather just have the stuff.
Well, and I'll speak to a consistent player. I'm not a new player. I've been playing for years. We have a campaign that went 5 years. It's on hiatus now, but like having those assets, like I can then create different versions of my guy. We have one of my characters that like she did go through a little bit of a revamp, and I needed a new model for her, and so like I could go revisit and have those, and I don't have to pay for a whole new STL. So like if you're somebody who does play a lot, by all means, that's also a good reason to have it.
Yeah,
especially if you're in multiple games.
Yeah. If you play a lot, even as a player, some of these are a little different. As a gamekeeper, my preference is Titancraft.
Yeah.
Once I bought those things, I can use them again. Then I don't have to worry about starting and stopping a subscription. I can just download whenever I need to for a new character, a new NPC that comes in. One thing we kind of didn't mention, if we're talking about cost benefits, I don't. Even if you're a player, if you're doing the printed out thing from HeroForge, then I think $20 isn't a bad price for the unpainted. If you want to paint it, $40 I still don't think is a bad price for the painted. If you have access to a printer, though, I do think it behooves you to go ahead and spend $20 and just do 1 month subscription to get the 5 credits.
Yeah.
And my suggestion would be basically do your level 1 character, do what you think your character might look like at level 10 and 15 and print out 3 of those, and then do a couple of like family background NPCs or something, because they're a lot cheaper when you do it that way than if you just do 1 STL from them for $8. Is $8. What the price is? Although we know HeroForge does this, especially around the holiday season, is they do discounts, especially on the STLs. But I think even the printed stuff, we've seen them do discounts. So watch out for that too, I guess.
Yeah. And as people who host games, like I'm the player, but I live in the house. We do special episodes, we call them. And so like we've gifted our players themed versions of their miniatures before. We infamously the beach day
we did specifically that.
So we created special characters and swimsuits and all that, and on that we did do HeroForge. That was before us exploring other things. But there can be a lot of fun things if you're doing a campaign that you may want to print off your own STLs.
Yeah, there are a lot of really good options. Talking about cost stuff, and you kind of mentioned it as a gamekeeper, none of these sites are really good for monsters. Titancraft has some options that you can purchase as assets that are actually kind of impressive to me, but I do Patreons for a bunch of different sites that already have like monsters and stuff like that, and that's kind of the way I tend to go. Eldritch Foundry, I think, has basically nothing. HeroForge, I think off the top of my head, I don't think they really have anything either. So maybe just be Titancraft that offers monster sets. Maybe not the best way to go about that, depending on where you're getting your monsters from.
Yeah.
Again, I'm really happy to basically go, hey, there are good points for all 3 of these sites. A lot of it depends on what you're looking for to do, and hopefully we've kind of walked through. Depending on what you want to do, which site might be best for you. If you have a question, definitely ask us in the comments below.
Happy to answer.
We've worked with all 3 sites periodically to print out stuff. We've been really happy ultimately with pretty much everything we've done. We've not done physical prints from either Eldritch Foundry or Titancraft, and don't plan to in the future. We've got a 3D printer. There's not really much reason for us to do that. They don't offer the painted thing. There's no real reason.
To be clear, we will be printing STLs from them, but we won't be buying printed from them.
Right. But we do have experience with the buying printed from HeroForge. As a GM, the unlimited option from either Eldritch Foundry or from Titancraft for making townsfolk and NPCs and stuff it's great. It's just super good. It's talking about Patreons. They're great about having a bunch of heroes or monsters. They don't do a whole lot of here's some townsfolk.
Here's just people.
And as a GM, I need a lot of townsfolk. It's one of the things that's been really helpful for me for crafting that stuff.
Beautiful. And as a player, I'd use any of these. I'm most familiar with HeroForge. I think it's easiest for newbies. But honestly, I prioritize owning the assets myself and being able to play with them. So I prefer Titancraft.
Sure.
But again, like if you're like, oh, I'm gonna go do Eldritch Foundry, I wouldn't be like, like I don't have any hard criticisms against any of them.
Yeah.
So, but if you have questions about this process, or if you want to share your experiences using any of these or other miniature creating websites,
if there are other websites out there, please let us know. We'd love to look into some others, or program or something that you use. I'd love to at least research it.
Yeah. Go ahead and drop those in the comments. If you enjoyed hearing us parse out our experiences with these 3 websites, go ahead and drop a like on this video. If you want to see more videos about gamekeeper tips or tabletop DIYs or board game reviews, go ahead and hit subscribe. And if you hit that notification bell, you'll be notified next time we upload. If there's nothing else, we'll see you next time.
Thanks.